we spoke about this a few months ago, Eric. I believe it was August is when this made the news. Is that a thing called the Bibby Stockholm? You know how they have to have names for these in England. It's a floating prison for migrants that they have in the UK because these towns say we don't want all these illegal immigrants in our town. So they said let's put 500 of the men who don't have families onto a floating prison. And of course there was protests. We watched those on this show. But I was like, what happened to this thing? And I started reading up on it, an article from the 19th of October, so just about 10 days ago, as we encroach on Devil's Night. Shout out D12 for that song. A coach carrying the migrants arrived the other day. So I'm like, where did they let them out? Did they never get in? Turns out they let out 500 men, which I think is the capacity, because they had a poisoned water supply. They had Legionella bacteria, and they had to go. They had to leave, and then Just Stop Oil, that group, tried to stop them from putting them back in. I don't know how the crossover goes with that, but 30 protesters gathered at the port gates holding banners saying scrap the prison guard barge, refugees welcome. They're not refugees, obviously. The whole world can't just be refugees from everything. Just Stop Oil activists managed to stop the coach carrying the asylum seekers in what they call a positive protest in support of the campaign against using the barge. Dorset police said 2 people were arrested on suspicion of criminal damage to the coach when it stopped at Portland Beach Road. Candy Udwin of Stand Up to Racism Dorset. I think these are the people we heard about last time, a bunch of old women protesting at the dock saying, put them somewhere, not my house, but put them somewhere. She had
Well,
been in
put them in
contact
your
with some of those
house
who
because they
had
go to.
been staying. So this woman's contacting the people on the barge. She said they hate it. They feel like it's a prison. Some hate being on the sea. They find it very difficult to leave, and they are completely separated from the community. Well, I would say, Eric Butler, that yes, it's it looks and feels like and sounds like a cat, aka an island prison, because it is one. And if you're going to take these people in, probably don't poison the water supply by accident, of course. But there's always that argument again, Eric, of you don't really like it here. You don't like your free accommodations. And just because it wasn't the 5-star hotel in New York City, and maybe 10 years ago this would have been too mean, Eric, but go back. Joe Biden on them. You can go back. You don't have to be here. You could have went to one of the other 17 countries before England. But no, we go to England and Germany and Sweden because they are the most willing to give you free things, just like from Venezuela. We don't stop in Mexico. We don't stop in Belize. We don't stop in Nicaragua. We want to go to New York City or Texas or Seattle or Chicago. One of the people from this barge said it feels scary. The barge will be crowded. If there's a single virus, then everyone will be affected. I think it'll be very bad for all of us. I lived there for 5 days and have experience on the barge, and that's why I'm not happy to go back. In the hotel, and this is where he explains how he prefers to be in the hotels, Eric.
Of
What
course.
a surprise. You want to be in an English hotel as opposed to the floating barge. In the hotel, we're free to come and go at any time. We're free, and we are free, and on the barge, we are bound to something. It's like a prison. It's difficult for all of us, and many have said they don't want to go back. You go to a country where everything's free and paid for you, and you're just like, how come I don't get to stay in the hotel, you guys? How come I don't get the luxury room where I can come and go? And it's like, they're not helping the PR aspect of this for the left wingers at all, but you come from this country that you say is so bad, and you complain that your free accommodations in a country 16 borders over is not treating you with 5-star because you have certain expectations, or other people have told you, or other people have gotten this. It sounds to me that's what a person who's not grateful that sounds like. If
No,
I Let's say there's a last point. Let's say there's a tornado that happens in my town, and I have a family and I have nowhere to live, and I go, and instead of being like I'm going to Northern Ontario or something, I'm going to go to the nicest place. I'm going to go to the East Coast, live by the water and stuff. because they're taking people in there. And I travel across 5 jurisdictions where I could have stopped, but instead I go to the 6th one, and they're taking me in. And they say instead of being in the nicest hotel, you're going to be in the Motel 6. And I'm like, this isn't fair, man. I like the bigger hotel. There, it's closer to the waterfront. I get better clothes there. Imagine the person who says something like that at times 10, because you're coming from what you want us to believe is third world country, war torn environment, and then you have the audacity to complain about the accommodations. You could have stopped in Syria or all these other countries. Maybe they don't want you. Maybe there's a reason. I don't know. But what I don't like is, I'm coming to your country. You have to let me in and give me all your free stuff, or else I'm going to complain. I don't like that. I don't think anyone does.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of this also is that they are, when I say they, I mean the establishment, not the migrants themselves, but the Bo Jidens of the world, the Eric Adams, the Hochul's of the world, the political establishment. I think, and again, it's always going to be a tinfoil hat theory, but I think they are thriving on the division that that this is creating. Because I'll tell you honestly, like, my mind is already going in a certain direction, right? So when I go down there, and I'm sure that these, no, I'm not sure of that. Sorry, I was going to say I'm sure these people are harmless, but I don't know that. A lot of these guys that hanging out outside, and again, I do have the footage that I just got to figure out how to piece together, and maybe a short YouTube documentary. So stay tuned for that. But it's clear that, or in my head, they have this like smug aura about them. They're loitering outside of this, what used to be a 4 or 5-star hotel, just loitering, moping around, dragging their feet around with their kids with this entitled look on their face. Like one picture that I just couldn't help but like immediately post, because this woman with this giant grin on her face, clearly, 9 months pregnant, like about to burst, with this ear-to-ear grin on her face, that the mission has been accomplished, right? So like, I'm about to pop out this anchor baby any minute now, and they are going to have no choice but to give me every single thing I want. And I think you did, to your point about Eric Adams saying that people aren't on the street. He has, of course, come out recently and said, you're going to start seeing it. Like, he's getting out in front of it and saying, oh, you're going to start seeing migrants sleeping on the street. And there was another article, but because I'm obviously unprepared as per usual, I didn't send it to you, where Eric Adams, they talk about the stay, what was a 60-day stay that you had in a hotel has been cut in half to 30 days. But when that 30 days is up, all you have to do is reapply. So it's literally a never-ending cycle. The 30 days is up, you go to the back of the line again and say, I need you to give me a free place to live again. So again, it will never end. And one day Eric Adams is talking about, we're gonna give you tents, because we saw how good it worked in San Francisco. Of course, those were junkies that got the government issue tents, and I've seen it in person. A lot of them are identical. That's because they came from the same place. So one day, I think it was the 25th of October or 24th or something, Eric Adams says, okay, we're thinking about giving out tents. 2 days later, he says, oh, we're going to be giving out more plane tickets, one-way tickets to wherever you want to go. And then Eric Adams had the audacity, according to the New York Post, had the audacity to say, yeah, I'm open to ideas. Bro, it's not that difficult. Now, I get it. He's not, he's the governor. He's not in the federal government. He's not the one that's supposed to be securing the border. But are you pretending that this is a difficult thing? Like, well, we're really spitballing here. We're brainstorming. We're trying to come up with a solution. It's not that hard, bro. Really, you send all these people back, and you tell them, if you really want to come, you can go to the front, you can fill out the paperwork, pay the fees, and we'll run a background check and give us a couple of months, and you may or may not get in. And to anybody else who's trying to come who hasn't already been here and hasn't been kicked out, we show a force at the border, and we stop cutting the barbed wire loose. We stop, literally opening the floodgates for them. It's not a difficult problem, but of course the left and the political regime is always going to make it seem very complicated and nuanced, and we have to figure this out, and we need more studies, and we need more money. What are we going to do? I could tell you. I won't say it here because we'll probably get the show banned, but it's not a difficult thing to figure out. These people are despicable.
Turn it up, Jordan.